Bienvenidos, worldwide fans of the planet's hottest entertainment with an edge. Back here with you, Jaime Enfuego, welcoming you to my namesake program, Enfuegotainment, to do a brief review about Małgorzata Szumowska, I believe, if I'm not butchering the pronunciation, of this very talented Polish director. She just put out a film recently in April called The Other Lamb that initially debuted last year at TIFF, and it got its at least wide digital release here in North America, April 3rd, I believe it was. And so this is one that had been on my radar since we were originally supposed to see it in March, when it was going to be a selection of the International Horror and Sci-Fi Film Festival at the Phoenix Film Festival. And sadly, that was a event that was postponed indefinitely, and there is fear that it will be in fact canceled this year because a lot of those films that were going to be featured, they have already migrated over to different digital sectors, whether certain streaming services, VOD, what have you. And yeah, the purpose of the festival, really more so than anything, and I was heartbroken at not being able to cover it as press this year, is the fact that, you know, it gives just some preliminary buzz with critics like ourselves, you know, that actually, you know, just get to give the attention and get people stoked about these films before they hit their proper releases where everybody can check them out. Yeah, this is a film that, you know, it's one of those borderlines where it probably could have been covered on the horror show, just based on some of the subject matter, but it really, for me, we have so much that we cover over there, and this is more of the cult dramatic with little elements of thriller variety here and there. And also on top of that, it's a subgenre of you know, unsettling stuff that the rest of the crew doesn't really get as into. It's really something that I'm just you know, into myself in this particular regard. And so it's an IFC Midnight, if I'm not mistaken, and it's at least for me a fascinating character study. Although despite good performances and the beautiful cinematography throughout this film, it was kind of lacking in just the execution of the story department based on simplicity. I don't necessarily feel like it delved in a non-spoiler variety as in-depth as I was wanting this to. So essentially you have this you know, handsome, charming Jesus type you know, religious leader who is out in the wilderness, and he has this just commune of various ages of women. And so there are the sister, like daughter types, and they're in one, you know, form of attire, one particular color. And then he has his throng of wives who are in a different one to give that distinction and stuff. And so as it is revealed to us when these girls that have been brought in, whether birthed there or brought in there, when they get to a certain age, you know, the age of maturing, so to speak, that's where he has the option to take them and turn them into one of his wives, as opposed to just leaving them on the other side of that proverbial fence. And so, I mean, it's really a simple story in that regard. If a particular wife acts out, you know, doesn't go with, you know, the man's wishes, whatever it may, you know, entail in that regard, our young protagonist girl, she finds out very quickly when she encounters this girl, well, this woman who is, like, you know, tied up, you know, like hidden in this area, and she's being disciplined. And so that's where it starts to become a little bit more apparent about just the depth of the depravity that is probably going on there that she is not completely aware of. And aside from that, it's really her exploring what happened with her mother, who was also there with her at one particular point. And this is where I'm dancing around, not really trying to spoil some of the revelations and some of the, like, rising up that transpires in the second half of this film. But all performances are good, aside from a little bit of thinness in the story. What I was the most just captivated by was the incredible landscapes that they chose for this film. Just the mountainous terrain, the forests, and really credit to the cinematographer, DP, you know, for your shot selection throughout this film, because just between choosing where to shoot, but also the angles of each shot were so artful, so just meticulously put together, and very tactfully and just artistically done. I mean, that's really, there's really no better way to put it. It's a very it's a very confident looking, very just beautifully composed film from a visual standpoint, and the visuals are really going to be the most memorable thing about this in comparison with, you kind of know where the story is going and what's going to transpire. It didn't necessarily throw any particular curveballs at us or anything of that nature. And yeah, I guess that with tackling these subjects of the whole religious cult, and I mean, especially when there is like a polygamous man involved and stuff, I mean, I could throw out some hot takes about, you know, the offshoots of Christianity and polygamousness and craziness. Watch a weird show called Big Love with Bill Paxton, and you'll see all of the strange intricacies of that sort of juggling act. But that's where you try to implement it into the real world. You know, it's much easier to do it in a wilderness situation like this, where you're cut off from the rest of society and you can just mold and manipulate and everything, which is very much what this, you know, charming long-haired Jesus type dude is doing. He's not even supremely charismatic. He's just very calm and composed and confident, and that's most definitely what these women are attracted to, you know, whether the younger ones who look up to him as like a father figure, and you know, the other ones who have become his wives over time and whatnot. So and also the fact that women act very jealously with each other, and so there's like the vying for attention and the competition aspect that transpires at times in this film. And so I found that a lot more intriguing as far as from a psychological standpoint and from a character study view, is the way all of these women kind of interact with each other, more so than the way he interacts with them, because our main baddie is really kind of a supporting character in a lot of ways, because it is much more about the interactions of these women at times with each other, and then the end game of what happens with him, as opposed to, you know, I don't know. He's definitely not the central character. As I said, it is told from the eyes of this young girl whose mother was there at one particular time as well. And I don't really want to spoil anything beyond that. This is definitely one that I would recommend. This is a 3 out of 5 Fuego Fireballs. This is a bueno film, but it was more so... It's more so good and just stands on the merits of the beautiful presentation of everything, as opposed to really doing anything that's nuanced and different in the storytelling. But I mean, that's often what you get with what people perceive as this sort of art house, dramatic, you know, thriller sort of situation. Once again, to remind you, this is on Infotainment because this is really not a horror movie, and that's why you're watching it here. So that's my thoughts, everybody. 3 out of 5. I've been Jaime Fuego. You can find me on all social media sectors like Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, here on the YouTubes. This channel is really my outlet aside from the main channel, The Horror Show that I mentioned, youtube.com/The Horror Show channel. That's where we do trailer reactions and reviews to any sort of horror content, whether it's movies, comics, TV. You know, I do a weekly Stephen King show, but we also try to implement lots of variety. You know, we have unboxings, we have Let's Plays, we have makeup tutorials. Cecil and Susie just did one of those recently. So yeah, a true horror variety show, a nice smorgasbord of the spooktacular. And over here with my personal channel that I relaunched last year, that is a little over 10 subscribers from hitting the 1,000 mark, where I have so many new creator options on YouTube as somebody who's trying to do something with this channel once again, and have been for a little over a year now. It's that more artistic fare as far as, you know, drama and thrillers, and also goofier and sillier comedic variety stuff. I do a retro review on Thursdays where I look back at older films that I hadn't really checked out or didn't remember very well. I do an Animated Monday. I do a Star Wars show every week. So, I mean, it's really me embracing the non-scarific that I spend at least a lot more of my time doing before everyone was self-quarantined and at home, so now I have a nice balancing act going, I think, at this particular point. So, a grande gracias once more if you're watching this video, and I do recommend The Other Lane if this is kind of your jam, so to speak. So, in any event, till the Reel of Ka comes around once more, hasta luego, sin amigos, constant readers, viewers, and all alike, but I'm hopeful that we share more of this film palaver sooner rather than later, and until then, stay indoors and watch more movies.